What's good, everybody? Before I get into the video, I want to say thank you so much. We hit 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. Shit's mind-blowing to me, honestly. I started uploading consistently about 2 months ago, and just to see all this growth this fast is unbelievable. I'm so grateful for everyone. Everyone's been loving the content, and it's been a blast. I've been having so much fun with it, and because we hit 10,000 subscribers, I promise you guys I would be making a My Story-esque video. I'm basically gonna go into my whole life, my whole career as a professional gamer, how I got into it, the highs, the lows, everything in between. So I hope you guys enjoy the video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Guys, let me know what videos you want to see in the future. You guys have been absolutely killing it in that aspect. Also, the homie CJ is officially done his 9 to 5. And he will have his computer back. So what that means is we will be able to daily upload, which is going to be awesome. We've been doing basically every other day for 2 months, and it's been great, but I would really love to be able to put out one video each day, at least, maybe even 2 some days, who knows. From the beginning, guys, like many of you out there probably, I have an older brother, right? He's about 7 years older than me. And as the younger brother, I basically wanted to do everything that he was doing. I always wanted to tag along with him, and that drew me to gaming. He was a huge gamer when he was younger. His favorite game was Halo, obviously, and I just wanted to play with him. I wanted to play with him. He's my bigger brother, you know, like I wanted to build a relationship with him. But I had that competitiveness. I wanted to be better than him, even at a young age. I've always had a very high competitive drive, and so I did anything and everything I could to let me tag along. It started basically in Halo 1. I don't even know when Halo 1 came out, but I will tell you this, I was very young. We would just play with his friends. Obviously his friends were his age, so they were about 6 to 8 years older than me. And we would go have like Halo 1 LANs we would rotate. Sometimes they'd be at our house. We have a pretty big living room, and we would basically set up 2 big screen TVs, put stack pillows up in the middle of the room, and then play like 4v4, 2v2, 3v3, whatever we could. And we would rotate from our house to each one of his friends' house as often as we could. You know, we would do this almost like every weekend, if I remember correctly. And at first, they wouldn't really let me play, right? Because I was younger, you know, I would only be able to play when like someone wanted to take a break or someone was eating or whatever, or I started getting upset and, you know, they were like, okay, let them get a couple games. But as time went on, they realized that I was actually just as good, if not better than them. And so it went from them really not wanting me to play to them wanting me to play with them on their teams, and did that for a long time. But eventually it got to the point where I was just far better than them, like to the point where I could 1v4 my brother and his friends. And this is still in the Halo 1, Halo 2 era. And I wanted more. I loved being able to beat up on my brother and his friends who were older than me, you know what I mean? And I felt like I had a certain level of respect from them, which was weird because you guys know how it is. I mean, when you're younger, man, especially at that age, you don't really get the same level of respect that, you know, my brother and his friends gave each other, right? But I wanted more. And around that time, Halo 2 360 had just come out. My brother was a manager at GameStop, so he got the 360 early for us. So when I really started playing Halo 2 now, I wanted to find better competition. Halo 2 also was the first multiplayer online game with Xbox Live. And that's when I found out about game battles and MLG. And I was instantly hooked. At that point, I was mainly just playing for my Halo 2 rank. If you guys aren't familiar with it, it's probably the best ranking system of all time. And it was huge. You know, I would flex my rank all the time to random people online, to my brother, to his friends. And that's kind of what I was focused on, because I knew about game battles, but I didn't know if I was, you know, good enough to play game battles. And I didn't really have friends who played Halo. Most of the people, my friends in school and stuff like that, they were Call of Duty guys. And my brother and his friends didn't really play game battles or do anything competitive. I mean, so I just didn't know how to start. And then I think one day I just was like, you know what, fuck it. I'm gonna find people on the game battles forums, MLG forums, and we're gonna do game battles. And then that's when I really dove into it. I started watching the MLG events back in like 2006. I was super hooked. Back then, guys, there was no Twitch, there was no Justin. So you had to pay, I think it might have been like $20 for a whole season, and you would be able to watch right through MLG. And like, they had everything. Like, their VOD collection was absurd back then. It was so much better than it was today. Like, they had everything. And I would watch every event. I would watch all the free-for-all rounds. I'd watch all the 44 rounds. And I became a fan. I became a serious fan. Some of the Halo players I remember that I looked up to are obviously the final boss roster with Walshy, Ogre 1, Ogre 2, Saiyan, and then with Strong Side, Carbon, with Gandhi, Karma, Shockwave. But there were so many people, and I became a fan. And then, like, instead of just posting for game battles, now I was finding ways to get in MLG customs with people, and I started building a relationship with players who had the same drive as me, who were on the same level as me talent wise, who wanted to kind of get into this space. Because at this point, guys, it was still very grassroots. It was awesome, but it was very much underground. Okay, this is 2006 we're talking about. Moving on to 2007, guys, I was 13 years old. 13 years ago, I'm obviously 26. I think I was 13 going to 14. It got to the point where I was actually pretty good. And I was way younger than a lot of the other players that I would play with and the players that competed. So I was 13 going on 14, and it was actually summer. It was summer going in to my freshman year of high school, which obviously is a big time change, right? And I begged my mom, I remember, because I never went to any of these events, but I'd watched every single one of them from like 2006, 2007, all the first events. And I begged my mom to let me go. I remember I wrote her this long note begging, like, please let me go to MLG Orlando. That was the one in 2007. I was like, I'll do anything, I'll make sure I'm a great 4.0 student, freshman year of high school. Begging, because she didn't want me to go to the events back then. Like, she always supported me with gaming, but she thought I was too young, right? And she wasn't sure how legit going to these MLG events were. She thought I would get abducted, or it was, there's bad people out there, like it was all con. But I was able to convince my mom to let me and my brother go. She bought our plane tickets. Me and my brother flew to Orlando, Florida. It was the first time I was ever on a plane, guys. The team at the time, I believe, was, I forget who my team was. Wow, that's how bad my memory is. But it was a team of relatively unknown guys. We weren't pros by any means. We were just an amateur team that really wanted to try and compete. And we absolutely killed it. So we ended up running all the way through the open bracket. And back then, dude, the open bracket was absurd. Like in Halo 2, guys, and even Halo 3, so they were like pro points, right? If you made it to like top 32, or even got to like the last round of AM, which I think was like probably like losers around 7, you were actually considered to be pretty solid. You obviously weren't professional, but like it was a grudge match in those open bracket matches. And we made it through all the way, made it to the pro bracket. I believe we played a really, really good team, a really good pro team first round, obviously, because we had come from the open bracket, so we had a lower seed, and we got absolutely bodied. But I was just excited to be there. You know what I mean? To be able to compete against these people that I had watched. And I'm still young. Like I said, guys, most of these guys were, 17 to 20. Like, I was only 13 years old. Even all my teammates, I think I had a teammate who was like 19 or 20 at the time. And we ended up going, I think, to losers round 3, which was for top 16. And we played this team. It was a bunch of professional players. It was Sure Shot, Bullets, Dr. Bob, I think, and Overshield. I know those are names you guys probably have no idea who I'm talking about, but we played them for top 16. I wish there were still VODs, guys, because it was like the breakout series for me. We ended up losing game 5, but I was unbelievable. And this is when everyone was crowded around the side stations. We obviously weren't on like main stage or anything like that. I don't even believe there was a feature station. But I remember I could feel the amount of people behind me and my team. We were playing this professional team. I forget their name, because we were like on the verge of upsetting them. We lost game 5, but I was absolutely going off, and people were mind blown. They were like, this 13-year-old kid is disgusting. And it was just an amazing moment for me. We ended up choking actually really bad, but it was like an unbelievable feat, right? And I remember after that event flying home, literally flew home instantly, flew home on an early morning flight, instantly drove to school. First day of freshman year in high school, I was super nerve-wracking. You know, I was nervous. I starting at a new school. Had a couple friends that were going to the same high school, but it was all new to me. I remember I really didn't want to go. I was so tired. I was like, Mom, I'm begging. And there was traffic on the way back, and I ended up getting to school late, man. I didn't know how the school was set up. Like, I was just a little lost puppy. It was a mess. But that was my first real taste of competitive gaming, professional gaming. And I loved it. I was hooked. But things changed pretty quickly because, you know, I got into high school. The 360 had just come out, I believe. Halo 3 had just come out in 2008. That's when MLG switched to Halo 2 to Halo 3. I kind of took a step back from wanting to pursue any sort of, you know, professional gaming, just because it was super underground, like I said back then, guys. And, you know, as much as I loved it, I really knew how important education was. And so I was really focused on my freshman year of high school. So I actually didn't compete in Halo 3. And I didn't really play much. Like, I mean, I played a lot online with the friends that I had built over the years from Halo 2, but it wasn't really like competitive. You know, I still watched the events, and I felt like I wanted to get back into it, but I just didn't. Not for the whole 2008 year. Like, I think I might have went to one event actually, like in New York, but like I wasn't really serious about it. And it wasn't until 2009 that I was a sophomore in high school now, kind of learned the ropes of high school, how it is. Didn't really tell anyone in my high school at this point, besides my close friends, that like I even went to these events. And now, guys, I wasn't a professional player yet, right? So like I was kind of embarrassed, I believe. You know, at the time, it was kind of looked down upon. People thought it was kind of weird, like, what, you just play games all the time in your room? I wanted to give it another go. Well, I guess my first go, because, you know, at this point, I'm a little bit older. My mom trusted me a little bit more with going to these events. And so I got back into it. No one knew in my high school still. And 2009 was crazy. For the most part, I remember I teamed with the players APG, Destin, and Tizoxic. Also teamed with Assault for a little bit. Once again, guys, these guys are names you probably have no idea who I'm saying. But this is my story, so I'm giving you the breakdown as well as I can, right? Because my memory isn't the best. We were great. I mean, that team, me, APG, Destin, Tizoxic, by the end of 2009, we were a professional team. We had gotten 4th, I believe, at the, I don't know if it was like the Nationals, which was basically like, you know, like the COD Finals, COD Championships, how it is nowadays. Or, oh no, it was the event before that. We had gotten 4th, my highest placing ever. Almost got my first ever top 3 placing. Like I said, guys, I'm a sophomore in high school. I'm still very young compared to a lot of these guys. But my team, we were called Dynasty. We were actually a very young team. So people were kind of surprised, and we were really building a name for ourselves, and things were going well. We got 4th the event before Nationals. I think we got 7th at Nationals that year. But I was a professional Halo player, which was mind-blowing. I was a professional Halo player, not really making any money, you know, losing money for the most part, because we would have to buy our own hotel room, split it, You know, I'm talking like 2 people in each bed. Sometimes it was like 8 people in a room, you know, just our team and like a couple of our friends from other teams, whatever the case may be. And the prize money wasn't that good. I mean, I think if you won back then, it was like $5,000 per person. I think when we got 4th, it was like $1,400 each, but that was it, you know. But it was awesome because this is like something that I've done all my life, gamed, and I've always been super competitive, and to like be considered professional Halo player, you know, professional gamer, is just crazy. It was just crazy to me. Going into 2010, this is kind of when everything changed for me. So back then in MLG, right, they had a lot of league sponsors. They had Red Bull, they had Dr. Pepper, they had Doritos, Flips, Old Spice, and they were sponsoring teams, right? Like there were teams sponsored by Old Spice, sponsored by Dr. Pepper, all this crazy stuff. But I got an offer from Red Bull, one of my biggest role models in my life. One of the most genuine, down-to-earth guys I know, named Sam Keen. He was the esports, I don't know what his title was back then, but like he was basically leading their esports wing in Red Bull. And obviously Red Bull had sponsored the league, and I believe they sponsored Walshy, Halo legend, you know, great guy as well. But they were still just dipping their toes into the esports area, right? And I believe at the time, so this is going into 2010. This is after the last event in 2009, Halo 3. And I was kind of popular in the scene. At least at that point, you know, I was a young kid, unbelievably talented. Obviously, a decent amount of people and like sponsors knew like about my thumb situation. But so I had an offer from Dr. Pepper and Red Bull to be sponsored. They wanted to sponsor me with salary. I couldn't believe it. And I talked to Sam Keen literally after the event. We had talked at the event. He was like, yeah, we're really interested in sponsoring you, man. We think you're going to be great. And I'm 16 years old right now. I'm like mind blown. Literally 2 days after the event, I go home, tell my mom about it. Sam Keen and Red Bull fly me out. This is where I meet a guy named Kevin Duhan. Well, if Kevin ends up watching this, he's going to hate me because I'm definitely butchering his last name. I think it's Kevin Duhan. But he was Sam Keen's boss, right? And unbelievable guy too. Huge Eagles fan. So we clicked instantly. But me and my mom were out there in LA, California. I had never been there. Well, I think I had been in California, but never where we were at. And it was like a whole different world to me. And I ended up signing my first contract ever. And it was wild. You know, I think I was getting like, I don't know, $15,000 a year or something like that salary. But they hooked me up. I had, you know, free Red Bull. I had all this, you know, I had Red Bull custom headphones. I had Red Bull custom control. Like, it was crazy. The stuff that I was able to do, the people I was able to meet, it was unbelievable. And like I said, guys, I'd never had a job up to this point. My mom actually was trying to get me to get a job. And then luckily I was able to be sponsored by Red Bull. So even though I was a professional Halo player, I wasn't really making much competing, but to be able to have some sort of salary and guaranteed money, my mom was like, okay, like, you know, you're young, so this is awesome. You don't even have to get a job. This is something you love, so I'm gonna let you try this. And it was some of the best times of my life, you know, with Red Bull. And at this time, guys, more and more people were slowly starting to know like what I did, right? Besides my core close friend group. But for the most part, I'd still kind of hid my thumb. Obviously, I was a little bit embarrassed about it. But this is when all things changed in that aspect. So going into my junior year, I did this piece. It was for Channel 1 News. And I don't know if they still do it. I think it was Channel 1. It was Channel something. It's Channel 1 number. I don't know. I think it was Channel 1 News. Basically, our high school didn't have like a high school news team or whatever. But we watched Channel 1, which was broadcasted all across the United States. I did this piece for Channel 1 News. And it was about Red Bull and being a professional gamer and, you know, balancing high school with that. It aired sometime in the beginning of my junior year. And I actually, gave a shout out to my high school, Hodson Vocational Technical High School. Basically, I was going there, guys, to be, if you guys don't know what a trade school is, you would go and you learn a trade. It could be nursing, HVAC, plumbing, carpentry, whatever. And I chose business technology. I wanted to do something with business, be an accountant. But anyways, that's besides the point. So it aired, and I remember the day it aired because I came into school late, and I walked into my math class, I remember, and everyone's just looking at me, and I'm like, something's wrong, like something on my face, like, what, like, I got old clothes on, like dirty clothes, like what, everyone's looking at me, and they don't say anything at first. So like they all look at me, I show my note to the teacher, math teacher. She was super hard teacher, I remember that, super hard. I hated it, even though I loved math class. And but they don't say anything, they just look at me, and then they go back to whatever the teacher was teaching. And then like my best friend in high school who sat next to me in math classes telling me like, yo, we saw you on channel 1 this morning. I was like, oh, like shit, like no way. Cause like I was nervous while I was recording you guys. Like it was something Rebel wanted me to do, and like I wasn't against it by any means. I was like, no, I can't do that. Like I'm embarrassed. But like I said, not really many people knew that I was a professional gamer. This is what I did. He was like, bro, that shit is crazy. Like, cause he knew obviously. But then people started talking about it. And then in the class, like my teacher, whenever we had some downtime, cause we were on block scheduling, which each class was like, we had 4 classes a day. They would swap like each Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday, whatever, and an hour and a half long. And so like then, they were talking about it, and everyone was like, what, you're a professional gamer, you're sponsored by Red Bull, like you make money, like this is crazy. And that's when I started to embrace everything. Because also, that's really when everyone in my high school knew about my thumb, because, that was a part of the piece. I was so nervous. Like I thought people were going to look at me like I was weird, but everyone loved it. Like absolutely loved it. They thought it was the coolest thing ever. Make no mistake, I wasn't the most popular kid in school, but I was amongst the popular kids. Okay. And I cringe when I'm saying that, looking back on it now. But I was kind of the kid who was friends with a little bit of everyone, each little clique, but they all loved it. And the way I was looked at was a lot different from there on. Not only from my classmates, but also the faculty and the teachers and the principal. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it's because I shouted out the high school, but like I remember so many times in my junior and senior year where the principal would like call me down to his office, and he would just have a huge thing of Domino's pizza, and we would just chop it up. Cause he had like 2 sons at the time, and they were, big gamers. They were younger. They were like 7, 8, whatever. And so he would just get me out of class, and we would just talk about gaming in general. And it was unbelievable, because I was like, yo, like, like I'm missing kind of important class. Like it's my junior year. Senior year, I didn't care, because senior year, but I got away with a lot of stuff I probably wouldn't have if it hadn't come out, that I was this professional gamer, which at the time still wasn't like, oh my God, that's amazing. But people thought it was cool. And it wasn't like, I guess because I was a professional and they like, everyone knew Red Bull, they didn't think it was like weird. Like, oh, you're just gaming in your room by yourself, like antisocial sort of thing. But yeah, I got away with a lot of things. Senior year, I think I was tardy like 73 times. And like the teachers just let me get away with stuff. I mean, I still did I did what I do. There was no collusion with the teachers and me, or, faculty or whatever. But I felt like I had a lot more freedom than a lot of other of my classmates at the time. But things were going well. 2010 was the last year, Halo 3, and it was good. I'm a professional gamer. My team status quo, it was me, Flamesword, Ace, and Assault. We had gotten 4th. That was like our curse. We had gotten 4th at so many of the events during the year, and it was the Nationals, which is basically like COD Champs now, and we were able to get 2nd place. We lost the final boss, but like that was my first huge paycheck, because Nationals, the prize pool was increased. We made $15,000 each off one event, and I was like ecstatic. It's like, oh my God, I thought I was rich, Little did I know, $15,000 is not really that much money. But I felt like I was on top of the world. Things were going good for me. You know, Halo Reach was coming out, and Halo Reach was also, you know, pretty good to me. I was considered one of the best players in Halo 3, one of the best players in Halo Reach. I got my first ever Halo win, the first ever Halo Reach event. I believe it was Dallas, MLG Dallas. It was an unbelievable feeling, you know, to finally feel like I was the best in the game. You know, I actually got MVP for that event. That was my first ever event win, and I got MVP. And like, while I was, you know, considered a top player, getting that first win, getting that first MVP, it felt like all the hard work and dedication I put in was starting to pay off. And at that point, I thought professional gaming and Halo was going to continue to take off. But now I'm getting older, guys. You know, 2011, obviously, like I said, was a good year. 2012, when 2012 started, though, Halo kind of was dying off. You know, they had kind of went a whole different route than what core Halo used to be, Halo 1, Halo 2, Halo 3. And the viewership was kind of dying, and it looked like things weren't going to reverse. It really didn't. And I was worried, you know, because I had spent so much time at this, and by this point and I was kind of worried because at this point, guys, I'm graduating high school. You know, I'm an adult now. I need to start, you know, looking towards my future. And Halo didn't seem like it was seeing any growth. And I knew that Red Bull wasn't going to renew my contract. They wanted to get out of it. I think at this point, like, StarCraft was huge. League of Legends might have been starting to blow up. I don't know. But so I was like, oh, like, shit. I almost had the feeling like this was never going to end, you know, and then all of a sudden it kind of was. And after Halo Reach, Halo 4, did not like the game. Before I go into Halo 4, though, I will say I did win the last Halo Reach tournament as well, with me, Flamesword, Royal 2, and Snakebite. Love those guys. One of my favorite teams of all time. But did not enjoy Halo 4. It was not a good game, in my opinion. The viewership had plummeted, and I kind of realized, like, okay, my time is up. You know, as much as I loved competing, I loved playing games, I didn't really see a viable future with it. You know, there wasn't still much money at all. And I was getting older, and, you know, I was getting ready to go to college. So I stopped playing. I would go to a couple Halo 4 events, but they were like, MLG wasn't even running them. They were like super underground. Like, we had taken 20 steps back. And I was just like, yeah, okay. Like, it was a fun ride, like, great memories, great experiences, but it's time to move on. And so I stopped playing. I got into, like, other games, not like professionally. But I played, you know, a lot of StarCraft. I actually played StarCraft 2 with Courage. That's how me and him met, because he was a big Halo fan. You know, he was a fan of the kid. I had no idea who he was, but he was way better than me at StarCraft 2, and we would play together, and he kind of taught me, you know, how to play StarCraft 2. But I was really just focused on school, you know, and I was going into college to be a CPA, certified public accountant. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to do something with business. I was always pretty good with numbers, so, you know, that's what I was planning on doing. And at this point, guys, I really had no fucking idea on what my future was going to hold. I had never had a real job. I was, you know, I really thought gaming was going to take off for me, and it kind of didn't. But so I took a step back, and I realized that college was a lot different than I thought it was going to be. You know, it was harder than I thought it was going to be. I became, when I'm like dedicated to something, I become obsessed with it, right? Obsessed with being the greatest. And that goes for everything. It doesn't matter what it is. But so when I was in college, my mind was still so obsessed at trying to be great at being a professional gamer, even though I had already, like, come to terms in a sense that I wasn't going to keep doing this. I just couldn't really focus on school. I mean, my grades were okay. I did what I had to do, but I didn't have that extra motivation to go the extra step. At this time, I started noticing Call of Duty. It was really starting to gain momentum. I watched Black Ops 2 Call of Duty Champs, and one of the most unbelievable final series of any game I've ever seen. It was when it was Impact versus Envy. I literally will never forget. I will actually forget the last map, but watching that map, and I was like, oh my God. And like the viewership was unbelievable. And I was intrigued, right? Like it was pulling at me. It's like, okay, this isn't Halo, but this is another first person shooter. It's on console. You know, I knew I wasn't going to be no PC pro in StarCraft or, you know, League of Legends or Counter-Strike, whatever. And I was interested. You know, I wanted to see what it was about, but I wasn't sure. You know, I remember telling my mom, like, Mom, this is something I really want to do, but I never really tried to play COD competitively. And at this point, COD had now overtaken Halo. Before it was Halo and Call of Duty. All the Call of Duty players and pros knew all the Halo pros because they were at the same events that we were at, but they looked up to us. So people knew who I was in the Call of Duty scene, but I was still nervous. I was like, do I attempt to do this? Like, if I attempt to do this, I know that I need to be completely dedicated in it because I don't want to half-ass anything. And well, at least I don't want to try and half-ass it. Like, I want to at least think like I'm going all in here. But I was on the fence. And it wasn't until my mom told me, she said, you know what, Ian, you know, I've always supported you with this. You can always come back to college. Because she knew, you know, that like I was doing okay, but not as well as I should have been or could have been. I wasn't focused on it. I think she knew that like I had this passion for competitive gaming. And so she told me, she said, you know, give it a shot. What's the worst that could happen? You go and you flunk out. I don't know if flunk out's the right word for that, but you go try and compete in COD. It doesn't work out. You go back to college. Okay. You're already done a year. Like, I'll support you. You know, it's just, so I felt good. I felt relieved. And I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to see if I can become a professional Call of Duty player.